Alright YouTube, so in today's video we are going to be reviewing and taking a look at the Razer Orochi V2, and I'll just be going over my experiences, letting you know why this is actually my new main mouse over the Hottie S Wireless and the G Pro X Superlight. This has replaced both of those mice, and I'll kind of talk about why in today's video. So when you first get this mouse in hand, if you have really small hands like me, which for reference is 15 by 9 centimeters, this mouse pretty much feels like like you're holding a tennis ball, but in mouse form. And if you're not used to mice that are already really wide, like the Orochi V2 is, you might need to have an adjustment period for it. Another mouse that I was already kind of using as well is my CryoMods custom MM710 wireless. So I was already used to the wider form factor of it, so I didn't really have a massive adjustment period needed for it. So when you take off the cover, you'll be presented with two different battery slots. AAA is going to be at the bottom, AA is going to be at the top. I went ahead and went with the AA converter with the AAA battery inside. To me, this made the mouse feel more balanced with having the battery in the middle. And this was my overall preference, having tried all three of the configurations. I didn't mind having the AA in this slot, but for me, having the mouse just, a little bit lighter definitely helped in terms of my aim, and overall, I really seem to prefer this. Switches in the mouse are rebranded Kale GM 4.0 switches, and they sound and feel exceptional in my opinion. So this mouse is not going to have the Razer optical switches like the Viper Ultimate and the Viper Mini and what have you. I'll give you a really quick sound test. Mouse 1 and 2. Side buttons. Scroll wheel. Honestly, I was really shocked when I felt the switches. They feel and sound fantastic, and usually on a wireless mice, there's usually a fault with the side buttons just kind of feeling mushy, or just they have a ton of pre and post travel. On my copy at least, the side buttons feel and sound great. However, I will say on the main triggers there is definitely some post travel, which I will showcase now. It's nothing too severe, but it's definitely there since the clicks aren't separated from the body. It's just one whole piece. And then the side buttons, definitely a little bit of post, but nothing too significant. They both, like all of the buttons on this mouse, feel and sound very tactile, and I really, really, really like them. The scroll wheel reminds me of the Viper Ultimate scroll wheel. It has the textured steps on it like the Viper Ultimate does, and it has really defined steps, and is kind of on the tougher side to scroll. I'd say it takes medium force to depress. I had absolutely no issues with over-scrolling while changing weapons in CSGO or anything like that. One thing that I know was bothering people on this mouse was the sensor placement, and as you can see, it's definitely further up compared to my MM710 wireless here. This is actually my preference with mice. Whenever the sensor is closer to my fingertips, I feel like I get that more pencil precision with micro adjustments and what have you. So I really, really, really liked this. Take note of this though, if this isn't something that you like, you probably aren't going to like the placement here. For me personally though, I really liked it. While we're on the bottom of the mouse here, you can see the Pure Virgin PTFE mouse feet. Whenever CorePad comes out with, core pads for the mouse, I'm definitely going to be replacing them. But for stock feet, this is my Hayate Atsu X-Soft right here. Very smooth, but I usually always just replace my mouse feet anyway, especially since this is my main mouse. The edges, I'm trying to see. The edges are definitely rounded. I'll try and get that on screen for you to see. But, yeah, they're typical Razer stock feet. And also, while we're on the bottom of the mouse, you can see the 2.4 gigahertz connection slider to the left and the Bluetooth on the right. Of course, when you're gaming, you're going to want to do 2.4 gigahertz, and I played absolutely exceptional in-game with this mouse. I'll go ahead and throw some clips up on screen so that you guys can see.
Dominating. 3 souls.
Dominating. Enemy at the center. Hostile radar overhead. Enemy at the
So as you could see there, I definitely performed really well with this compared to how I usually perform. This mouse, I like to describe the Hayate Atsu as my training wheels mouse. I really feel like it caters to all of my weaknesses in aiming, and I feel like the Orochi V2 is, excuse me, my mouse, but with training wheels as well. So the width of the mouse, it really felt nice in hand. So the hump is obviously centered because it's, you know, more of an egg mouse. So I felt like I really had a lot of dexterity to be able to do micro adjustments. So I do a claw on it and my grip looks something like this. So I don't do like a hardcore like pincer claw on it, even though I'm able to, but it's really comfortable like this. So there's a really nice comfort curve on the left side here under the side buttons, which definitely kind of reminds me of the Cooler Master MM720. I believe it was Boardsy that actually said that, and I thought that that was a really weird comparison until I actually got it in hand myself, and I can definitely agree with that. So the coating on the mouse feels pretty much like a Razer PBT keycap. It's very textured, and at first I didn't really like it. I felt like my fingers and hands were sliding around a lot, as I do have extremely sweaty hands. After about a day or so, though, I adjusted to it really well, and now I don't feel the need to pick up BTL grips or anything like that for it. So the coating is definitely a 10 out of 10. While we're on the topic of coating, though, one thing that I noticed about the mouse, you can see this like dirt mark right here. I have really clean hands. I wash my hands multiple times a day. I'm not like a dirty person or anything like that, but my mouse definitely got dirty somehow. I don't know if it's just grime from my mouse pad or what, but you know, it's able to come off easily with just a really damp cloth, but definitely something that I would mention. And also, while we're on the subject of the shell, the only really downside that I have to my copy is after about a week of me using this, I did notice that my shell, I would be able to feel it sliding around a little bit when I was in game. It's very minimal, but hopefully it doesn't, you know, worsen over time. If it does, I'll definitely pin a comment down below letting you guys know if it, you know, worsened over time. But for now, that's really the only downside that I have on my copy. Other than that, the build quality is phenomenal. I can actuate the side buttons if I squeeze hard enough. Here, I'll let you listen to that. Other than that, though, it's built just beautifully. And there is a little bit of rattle. I'll let you listen. Hopefully you guys could hear that, but for the most part, this thing is built really well. And overall, the build, like, I have absolutely no complaints about this mouse, which is kind of a first. Anything else, though, the mouse has just been absolutely phenomenal for me, and it's going to be my main mouse until further notice, pretty much. Alright guys, so we're going to do the small-handed edition portion of the review real quick. So obviously, this is a very small mouse. and I'll put it next to the super light just so you can see how small it actually is. The super light pretty much towers over this thing, and I have 15 by 9 centimeter hands for reference, and I can do any kind of grip on it. I can palm it, which I'm doing right now, and it's really comfortable in palm if I'm being honest. I can fingertip grip it like this, where my palm makes absolutely no contact. It actually feels great in fingertip, but my normal grip is a regular just claw grip where I go like this, and the only contact is, you know, down here in the meat of my hand, and my ring and my pinky finger aren't fully extended, but I have them slightly curled, and I really feel like I can just dial in the micro adjustments when I have it gripped this way. I have perfect access to both side buttons. I never have an issue with hitting them, and they're, you know, they're not super recessed into the body, as you can see. They're really easy to hit and find in game. Fingers are in a really good spot on mouse 1 and 2, and I can reach the scroll wheel without any issue whatsoever. So like I've already said, this mouse is my new main, and with 15 by 9 centimeters, it is a wonderful, wonderful pick, at least in my opinion. Just keep in mind the width of the mouse. It definitely might throw some people off. So here it is. Hopefully you can see the MM710, but it's definitely a wider mouse, especially in the middle, but I was personally beautifully adjusted to it right when I got it. So yes, I definitely recommend this mouse for small-handed people. So before closing out the review, yes, I think this mouse is worth it. If you want to get the Orochi V2 with the custom painted shell, you're obviously going to be paying somewhere in the $90 range. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but if you want to support, you know, your favorite artist, then definitely go for that. I'm personally hopefully waiting for Razer to sell these standalone so that I can support my favorite artists, but the whole battery thing really seems to be dividing the community, thinking a lot of people think it's overpriced and a lot of people think it isn't, and I'm one of the people who thinks it's not overpriced. I don't really understand. I guess everyone's main concern is about the battery, who thinks it's overpriced, but when you put it in the view of the XM1R, which is a wired mouse, is just $10 cheaper than this mouse, or if you want the RGB version, it's just as much as this mouse. And this is wireless. I don't know. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion on it. I personally highly recommend this mouse, especially if you have small hands. I think this is a really great option. Like I said though, the only thing to keep in mind on is the width of the mouse. If you don't like wide mice, you probably aren't gonna like this, but in game I performed great with it, and like I said, for the foreseeable future, this is 100% my main mouse. So with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video.